Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Creative Conference. This is the 10th anniversary of the Creative Conference, bringing you information to the Atlanta Film Festival for 10 whole years now. My name is Karen Cisse. I'm the moderator of this panel entitled Actors Roundtable, Truly Vulnerable. And today we have a panel of very seasoned professionals from the Atlanta and Metro Atlanta market who have been working here for a while. Some recently moved here who are working, we're multi-hyphenate, and we're gonna talk to you about the realities of being an actor during COVID. So we'll talk about what life is like on set. We will talk about what are we doing to prepare ourselves, what are the things we're doing. You know, this is normally an uncertain business, and now the whole world is uncertain right along with us. So we're gonna talk about these things. We're all family havers, so all of this has affected us. So welcome so much. Welcome for being here. Let's start off with Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric Goins. I am a local actor here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm also a local SAG-AFTRA board member who's been involved with a lot of the information that's coming out about the protocols involved with set protocols. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to the discussion.
And let's go to Meg.
Hi, I'm Meg Messmer. I am a creator, also multi-hyphenate. That's like our favorite word these days. Actor, producer, writer here in Atlanta, and trying to make stuff happen during COVID.
Last but most definitely not least, Mr. Miles.
Yes, hi, I'm Miles Mussenden. Now, I didn't know what multi-hyphenated or whatever that meant, but now that I know, yeah, I have a few hats too, and you know, I am in the Atlanta market as well as New York, and yeah, I'm acting, writing, producing, and talking to you guys.
Awesome. Well, this is great. It's been a wonderful thing to be involved with the Actors Panel and be involved in this market. You know, Eric, you and I go way back from the improv scene. Talk a little bit about what you've seen from a SAG aspect. You know, what have you seen from where we were to the opportunities that we had right before COVID and how things are looking forward? I also want to mention that you also have a taping service. So how has that kind of looked as well?
Yeah, so you know, before the pandemic, it was gangbusters, right? Like, it was a lot of work, it was a lot of stuff. The local market was growing at a very fast rate, and then COVID hit, and I think COVID hit things pretty hard. I know from our taping service, we basically shut our doors down about the second week of March, I believe, and we have yet to offer in-person auditions still. We're doing a virtual audition experience for actors over a Zoom session just like this. I would say from a SAG-AFTRA standpoint, I think the biggest thing I would communicate is I think all of the unions, not just SAG-AFTRA, they've shown unity, they've shown diligence, they've got experts involved in helping them establish their protocol, and they haven't rushed. And I think those were like four really important things that the unions bodies as a whole did that have now created a document and a set of protocols that really allow us to kind of know that we're walking into a safe environment if the things that are described are met. And it also allows actors, producers, directors, crew members all over to be empowered because the information is available as to what the expectation is when you walk on set. So all these people who are hardworking people who just want to get back to work, we have a document. It's a safe way forward. There's a document available that people can use to really understand what the expectation is, but also be empowered to be their own advocate to make sure that those protocols are being met on a daily basis. So I think the industry as a whole has done a really great job. I was actually just commenting this morning about, I think the industry's done a really good job of meeting the call of this very difficult situation and unprecedented. I think they've done a really good job overall of meeting the moment. And I'm optimistic about how we're moving forward. I'm watching the industry ramp up now. There's more productions coming up. They're moving slowly, but they're moving consistently forward, and things are ramping up, and we're seeing that from a taping service, but also from just being involved in the industry. And I'm optimistic about the way the industry is handling it and how we're moving forward as a group.
Now, Miles, I know you wrapped your production during COVID. Where were you? What were you working on when everything started to shut down?
Yeah, I was in Virginia, and I was shooting a show called for Apple TV, Apple Plus, called Swagger. So actually, I remember, I think it was like March 15th was my last day on set, and I had hundreds of people around me, of extras, shooting a scene, because the show was about the AAU basketball, so we were at a game. And that evening, I got a call saying, we are going to kind of wrap up production for a couple of weeks. We'll let you guys know what's happening in 2 weeks. That was several months ago, and,
Right.
And I jumped on a plane and I went home, and from my understanding, we're supposed to actually, we were looking at trying to come back yesterday, but yes, we're still working through whatever logistics. So I'm not sure on that one. Just kind of wait and see, and fingers crossed. It's a great show, so I'm hoping everything, is able to get worked out.
Okay. And I did catch some pictures of a wrap party. So I'm like, it's on Instagram. So, how was that like when you went back to set the first time in a, panic? I mean, were you panicked? Were you cool? Were you relaxed?
It's so interesting because, I know people have different feelings, and I guess I'm fortunate, I get to work fairly often. And, when that project, because I wasn't working on Swagger, I was available to do this this wonderful film called Inheritance. And it was great because, it was the middle of COVID. I was sitting around the house, eating cookies and taking walks, thinking that's going to walk off my fat from the cookies.
Right.
Nice.
Y'all been eating cookies.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. My agent was like, "Hey, man, you go do some work. Go work."
Right.
That's
a whole different category. Right?
Yes. So I mean, I auditioned for that project on tape, and everything was kind of on tape now. With the Laurie London was the casting director in LA, so they do everything on tape. We did the table read on tape. I mean, on Zoom. The Zoom table reads, and it was great. I mean, it was interesting, and I don't know how much you want me to tell you, but they kind of had us in bed and breakfast kind of.
Yeah, fuck more details. So how did this play out?
Yeah, it was there were several little houses, so I stayed in a house with 3 other castmates, and there were like a house next door, a house over here. It was like a collection of homes, and that's where we lived, while we were shooting. So it was the cast was only, the cast and crew altogether was only like 51 people. So
did they require you? Were there like restrictions regarding if you're not on set? Were there restrictions like were you allowed to go out, or did they say you have to stay at the bed and breakfast in certain places?
Well, that was we were supposed to stay kind of in a bubble.
Supposed to.
Well, now I'll admit.
We're not throwing any shade. We're not throwing anybody up under the bus. We're not saying anything.
I probably went through that one, but not bad. It was shooting in Georgia, in Columbus. So I was only 2 hours away from the city, from Atlanta. So I did go home a couple of times on the weekends, but I didn't go out. I just kind of only home. Okay. So kind of still stayed in my little bubble. And I will say that through the whole production, we were there for a month, and nobody tested positive. We were testing 3 times a week. Okay. So we were good. And
was that SAG?
It was
SAG.
In fact, we had a SAG rep visit the set and everything.
Yeah. So I do want to go into more specifics in a minute about really what the day-to-day looks like what craft services, what I mean, all of that, what that looks like now. But I do want to talk to you, Meg. Meg and I are we work on a project together that was set to start shooting the end of March. Like, we had written this, it was all ready to start shooting in March. And then what happened, Meg?
Yeah, that was so frustrating. We were 5 days away from shooting, and we were really going to do it. We were going to do it. And we had all of our actors were like on board, but the reason that we ended up pulling out was because our locations started to pull out. And they were saying things to me as a producer, like, well, I don't know, we're not sure. And I'm like, I'm 5 days away. You can't give me I'm not sure if we're going to stay open. That's not going to work for production, you know? So we had to shut down, and it's it's September. We're looking at potentially shooting in October now. And we haven't shot it yet. And it was frustrating and depressing. And that's coming from like, not only we were writers on this project, creators, producers, and actors on this project. So that was very, very frustrating to sort of release all of that. But what we have talked about since, Karen and I in the writers' room, is that because of what's happened, COVID, you can't ignore it. I know that when I watch television shows right now, I sit down and people are like hugging. I was like, before COVID, this happened before.
Right.
You know,
Right.
And I can't unsee the pandemic. So now we're rewriting, like we went back to the writer's room to write the pandemic into the script, as well as the Black Lives Matter movement, the wave of that second movement, or whatever, like this.
Yeah, I don't know which movement we're on now.
Right. Like, yeah, it's 3, 4, but anyway, it was so poignant what has happened during this time that we couldn't ignore it. And I think that it's really elevated our show to now, you know, be able to shoot it coming up. One thing I was going to say,
that's current issues that is changing in real time. So it's really, and we can get more into, because I think a big thing about this time is being creators. Like, we all need to be creators, and that was the movement before COVID. But at this point, you're going to have to be working with people you trust. You have to work with small crews. You have to work, you know, everything has changed the manner in how we do business. Eric, how has this changed in training? Like, as far as people who are, you know, you see a lot of people at different levels of their experience and this journey. What are the types of things that you see people doing? What are they asking for now?
Oh,
wait a minute.
He's muted.
Am I muted?
I was muted. I was trying to use good Zoom etiquette, and then I forgot to take myself off.
Messed it up.
I messed up the whole thing. That didn't take long.
We've written that in too.
Yeah. Every script has a guy that messes up the Zoom call.
Someone's going to the bathroom.
Yeah. It's going to be prolific in all the scripts.
Someone walking in like, are you shooting now?
Yeah. So could you ask that question again? Are you asking specifically about training? Like, how is training going during this environment?
A combination, because it seems like everybody's really in this, okay, what am I supposed to do now mode? Like, we're all in this kind of, should I be writing? I don't know what to write. What's going to be okay to shoot? You know, where can I shoot? But I find that, you know, you're dealing with actors on a more regular basis in a general sense of the word. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're seeing people across the board. What is the conversation? What are the things that people are asking? What are the questions that you're getting? Anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of all over the board. Right?
I mean, I think the first and foremost, everyone, the actors that I see are all talking about, like, you know, when are we going to see production ramp up again to the levels that it was before the pandemic? Is it safe to be in on a set environment? I think those are the big questions right now. I think outside of that, I think everyone that I've kind of I have a pretty wide net. From what I can see, I think everybody's handling it in very unique individual ways. I think some people appreciate the pause, so to speak. I mean, I think our industry, if you ever try to take a pause in our industry, you have this kind of like feeling that you're missing out on something that's going on. And I would say this is the first time in my entire career that I've taken a pause and there was a stretch of time where I was confident I wasn't missing out on anything. Like, there was nothing going on.
I second that.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's allowed a lot of people to reset and reprioritize their lives and their career and all those things. I think training has taken on a new face. What I'm seeing is a lot of like local training shift to online, or they're shrinking their class sizes way down so that they can apply social distancing and PPE kind of protocol to their classes. I mean, I've seen teachers go so far as to put ultraviolet lights into their HVAC system, so everyone feels really, really
Wow.
safe. And I think
Right.
because at the end of the day, like, whoever is the actors really need to feel comfortable, so that way there's no level of anxiety that's affecting their performance. And all crew members, everyone involved, needs to feel that level of comfort. So I think the people who are having classes, who are doing tapings in person, all those things, I think the people who are leading those efforts, from what I can tell, are really trying to put everyone at ease by the steps they're taking to kind of follow protocol in an appropriate way. And so I write too. Like, before the pandemic, my wife and I were writing something, and this has really kind of caused us to pause right now. And I think the first 2 weeks of, like, when everything kind of shut down, we were like, oh yeah, great. We're like gonna hunker down, and we're gonna write 7 scripts, and we're gonna come out of this
out every morning.
yeah.
Oh wait,
Yeah, we got it. Best. But I think the anxiety that comes with what the pandemic brought, as far as social distancing and a lot of ambiguity and new information, and just a lack of clarity, just because it was a novel coronavirus. It's new. I think for some people, it's kind of caused them to pause. I've talked to a lot of writers, and they say it's been difficult for them to write in this environment. And I think that's completely normal. And I think as we get further into it, and as we start seeing things being safer, I think people will start kind of evolving into that new season of life, and we'll start seeing more people creating. And I think that's great that you're working in our current situation, because a lot's happened over the last 6 months, and it's
Exactly.
Yeah.
it's all super hard to ignore.
Yeah. So Meg, how has that, affected, look, I want to go into, because you have been working on set. You just shot a commercial or something out of town?
Commercials.
How did that work? And you had a whole new cast of co-stars that traveled with you. Right?
You mean my family?
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
How did that work out?
That's what's happening. This is a good panel, because I feel like we're grabbing different things. So I work a lot in commercials, and commercial auditions have gone all online, which, I wanted to say this before, but Georgia is known for being an on-tape audition central, right? Like, we already know how to put ourselves on tape. LA and New York, I saw some things kind of coming in that was like, how do you self-tape, things, like, and blogs about it. And I'm like, ooh, catch up, LA and New York, like, catch up on how to put yourself on tape and look good. So I think we have a nice edge being in Atlanta, and all of my commercial auditions have been on tape now, which most of them are anyway. But on top of that, they're like, hey, do you have a husband, or do you have kids? Do you have people that can audition with you? Do you have people that you've been quarantining with? So my husband, who is not an actor, is now an actor. My kids have been auditioning. My dogs have been auditioning, and they're asking you things like, hey, can we use your location? Can we shoot in your backyard? Can you shoot in your, like, send us a picture of your office space, because they're going to, I literally know that one commercial, they send the production equipment here. The production coordinator talks to you about how to set it up. The director directs you over Zoom, and that's the commercial. Our commercial that we got booked on, we had to travel to Charlotte. It was my husband and my daughter, who's 18 months. We were in a hotel. They did not require us to test. This was a non-union, I should say, commercial. They did send us their protocols before. And I should say, like, you need to do what you're comfortable with. I have never gone out for any commercial that doesn't have a PDF protocol, like, on the audition notice. Like, I want to know you guys have thought about this and you're ready to go. So when we got up there, they quarantined us on set in our own. We were shooting in one house. We had our own room that was just supposed to be for actors. But of course, what happens is that a set becomes a set. And even though everyone's wearing masks, like people were coming into our room, there, you know, everyone wore masks, but we were supposed to be social distancing. And then at some point you have to get the commercial done. So people are getting to the end of the day and they're starting to get closer to each other. And, you know, we're like getting a little nervous. I think at one point I had to put my foot down and be like, my daughter's leaving, like she's done.
Right.
I think it was interesting. I think they were doing as best they can, but in the end, like people on productions, especially as producers and crew, like they're at the end, they have to get it done. And I think sometimes we slip into our old habits, and you just, as an actor, have to know when to put your foot down and say, hey, I'm like, just so you know, you just have to know when to put your foot down and like when to call a shot. And,
yeah, that's something that a lot of times I think actors, this is where you can see kind of where people are in the process, is what you'd be like, no, I'm not doing this, you know, what you've already been through, and the ability to, you know, be certain about, this is my comfort zone and this is what we agreed to.
Yeah.
And this is, and that's really important moving forward in uncertain times. That should be the catchphrase for 2020, these uncertain times, right? You know, everything should be these uncertain times.
And just so when we got back from that commercial, we had like another 3 auditions set up for us. And I was like, no, we're going to quarantine for 2 weeks. We declined everything because we were like, after you've been on set, even if you're wearing masks in an enclosed house for 14 hours, do the masks really work at that point? So we were very concerned. So we got home, 2 weeks went by, we were fine. And actually after that 2 weeks, I started to feel a little bit better about going out onto another production. I was like, oh, I did it once. It went okay. I feel pretty good. Okay, I think we can make this work.
Right. And then the checks come in and the whole family got paid. What's up? Who wants to order something on Amazon?
Those just came in.
Love it when checks come in, don't we? Yeah. Our favorite day of the week is payday. Miles, how were things like craft services and catering and holding also, like, you know, you said the crew was what, about 50 people. How did that work out? Did you have different zones, you know?
Yes, I don't know if this was a SAG thing or who came up with this, but they had zones. So the cast was like Zone A, and they had Zone B for certain crew members, and then Zone C. So like for the cast, we kind of all were held in the same green room together. And there was enough space where it's a big room where we could kind of socially distance in that room. So it'd just be the cast, and every once in a while you'll have a PA pop in, you know, kind of pop their head in and, you know, give whatever instructions or whatever they needed for us to do. So that worked out really well. And then we had like our own little craft services right there for the cast, just for us. So, and then when it came for catering, instead of kind of going and getting, you know, how we go in line and get your food normally, but instead they were kind of pre-made. And you would have somebody serving us the food. It's just hand us a plate, basically.
Okay.
And it was socially distanced when we eat. So, you know, and that's
no
kind of
breakfast orders with the PA being like, what do you want?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, we actually would, like, lunchtime, we would go to lunch and like the cast would eat together, you know, and the good thing is that we were kind of testing very regularly. So, you know, sometimes it would be the day we just tested. So we kind of knew nobody had COVID, you know, that we would test and they would have the results in 20 minutes.
See, that's the key.
Those zones came directly out of a Safe Way Forward, which was the United protocol that the unions put forward. And Zone C is the outside world. Zone B becomes anywhere that the production has a physical footprint. And then Zone A has to do with the people who are within a certain proximity to anyone who may have to work without PPE, and that's going to be the actor, because the actor is the most vulnerable person on set, theoretically, because they're the only people who by definition have to take off their mask to perform their job. So the zones start with the actors, and then they go out, and there are different layers of protocol and that exists within each zone. And that was put together through the union Safe Way Forward.
Yeah, except that if an actor has it and they, like, let's say they have it and they sneeze because they're not wearing their mask, actually everyone else around them is open to getting it, because the mask, like they say, they don't cover, you know, it coming in here and here.
Right. So the idea is that the protocol states that I can only speak to union projects, right? So I think everyone, like you said, has to understand their own level of comfort and what they're willing to accept. And so when I speak, I'm only speaking based on the protocol that's established by union projects. And so a union project states that you'd have to get tested within 72 hours of your report to set, which means you will be tested and cleared 24 hours before you report to set. So theoretically, you will know, and that's based on the science of when you start to shed the virus and things like that. And so if you're walking onto a set and you've been tested 72 hours before you report, you've got your results back, then there's a high likelihood that you currently are not have been exposed to COVID. The reason that on TV and film, they're testing 3 times a week is that the science shows that if you test 3 times a week, you are significantly decreasing the risk of having any type of outbreak of COVID, because you will catch it soon enough you'll be able to quarantine the single person that might have tested positive, because once they test positive, they'll go into quarantine immediately. They'll do a second test to make sure it wasn't a false positive. They'll do a third test, and then they'll decide what the protocol is from there. So I think, I can only speak to union projects, and I think right now for me, that's the only place I would personally feel comfortable is working on a union project, because I know those things are in place. But you're right. I mean, if somebody sneezes and they've got and they're positive for the virus, there is a risk involved. And no situation, no matter what protocol we put in place, is going to be 100% safe.
Yeah.
But the unions have put together a document and protocol that brings the likelihood of spread to a very, very, very low level based on the three testings a week and the PPE and the social distancing in the zone, kind of like the zone protocol. So theoretically, in that scenario, each person who's on the set has been tested within 72 hours of being there. And in some cases, within 72 hours, they've had a negative test within the last 72 hours, which would bring the likelihood of anyone on that set having a positive COVID response very, 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 very low.
That was really, in the early days of this, that was the main thing, the inability to get testing. My son down here, he is probably at his school or almost at his school in Connecticut, which is stone cold hard and strict on rules. What do you all think is going to take? Like, what combination of things do you think it's going to take for the industry to kind of really get started back up again, and for people to feel comfortable? This is just to anybody.
I think speed and cost of the tests will be critically important. I think the level of testing can be cost prohibitive for sure for smaller productions. I think as the technology kind of catches up, like it always does, we know that as we move forward, things will get better, faster, and hopefully cheaper. I think those 3 things are probably some of the biggest issues that will help us kind of ramp up, because then you'll start seeing, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of big tentpole productions kind of go first, because they're going to be able to absorb the money. They got the money and they can absorb the budget, because it's a lot. I mean, if you look at the testing today and the costs, and then the speed at which you can get a result back, right? So instead of 24, 48 hours, getting it back 15, 20, 60 minutes. So speed and cost, I think, are really, speed and cost, in my opinion, are the big things as it pertains to testing that will help production ramp up. And I think, I think science and technology, they're good at making those things happen. It's just how quickly it comes to fruition.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would
Anyone else?
agree.
Yes.
I would agree with Eric, and I think the show, the production that we did on Inheritance was a really good example, because we were getting results in 15 minutes.
Amazing.
They were using that
Swab.
Nasopharyngeal.
yeah, and they stick it in your nose, and that's very
And
uncomfortable.
scrape your brain out. Yeah, it's like, keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
Like, there's no more going. No, keep going.
I think, though, my understanding is that there's a technology where you can just use saliva, and I think that's going to go a long way. So, because even the test they were doing on us is it takes 15 to 20 minutes to get results, but I know it was $100 per person per test. Cost, yeah, I think obviously is going to make a difference if we can bring down that cost. And also, like, and I hear what Megan was saying, but I never felt, this is the safest I've felt since this whole thing started, was actually when I started working.
Yeah.
Believe it or not,
Yeah.
I was around people that were being tested regularly. And then even like there was no time, and I mentioned that, I probably was the bad one because I left a couple of times and came home. But even when I did that when I came home for a weekend, I would still have to go back and get tested on Sunday.
Right.
So I knew within 20 minutes on my test on Sunday that I was good for, I'm COVID free. And then everybody tested Sunday, so we're all COVID free. Then we're in the house. So Monday when we go to work, we just quarantined because we didn't go anywhere. We all tested, and then Tuesday we're testing again. So as the actors who did not, who at times did not wear masks, even like when they would do hair and makeup, you can't wear a mask when you're doing your makeup.
That's my question. Go into hair and makeup. Let's hear about hair and makeup. What that looks like.
But so they had a protocol where they would wear double protection. So the person that's doing makeup, they would have a mask on and they would have a face shield.
And then how was the actual makeup? Like, did they scrape in? I mean, like, I know you're not getting a full face, but like for the women, what did you, what were you seeing as far as makeup? And
they're supposed to use all disposable, one set for each person, but most of the time they just trash. And move on.
Expensive.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think before COVID, I saw a lot of using everybody. I mean, on all the shows I do, I pretty much have my own.
Yeah, little Ziploc bag.
Yeah,
little sponge. Yeah.
And hair and makeup is considered Zone A, so they would be involved in all the heavy testing and protocol.
I was gonna say, so I have friends that are producers they're working on like their 6th movie since COVID. So they're an indie film, non-union. So this is producer talk, but like SAG's protocols are wonderful. SAG IATSE, their protocols are awesome, and they're a great launch point. I mean, we did our own protocols that we worked with the studios and lawyers on. They're very similar to the ones that SAG put out eventually. The one thing that's tripping everybody up with going SAG at this point as a producer is the wait that we have to do after you wrap. And that insurance is butting up against some of these things in terms of production insurance. But I would just say, like, the indie films as well as SAG stuff, they're following these guidelines, and my friend has worked on a show now, like, I think she's done 4 or 5 times she's been on location on an indie show, and they've been fine. And again, my friend is now in her 6th movie, and Atlanta or Georgia in general is like the most, because of Georgia's government or whatever. We've been really back to work before some of these bigger markets, and we are kind of proving the model. And I'll go back to Miles when you said it's the safest you felt. Once I got done with that production and realized we were okay, I was looking back and going, actually, yeah, that was probably the safest I've been. Cause like, then we had to go to my brother-in-law's wedding where nobody was wearing masks except for us. And I was just like, oh my God, put me back on set. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that people are I think we're doing the best that we can. And if we keep proving this model as we're slowly doing and keep going, then I think we're all going to start feeling safer and safer personally, as well as a whole, as a studio or or whatever. So
yeah, my wife actually booked something on Friday. She found out about it, or Thursday, and so and she starts to work on Monday. And I've watched the process just right here I've kind of walked through the process with her in the initial stage. And I was so impressed with the way the production has handled every single step along the way of how to, because at the end of the day, the people who are on set, I mean, they're at risk just as much as the actors are. So it's not like, they have just as much interest in doing things properly as the actors. And I know I'm only speaking from an actor's standpoint, but anyone who's concerned, I mean, everyone has the same concerns, and I've been so impressed. And I think it's important to note that anytime a SAG-AFTRA project shoots, before they are cleared, they actually have a sit down with our local union representatives, specifically Melissa Goodman here in Georgia, and Allison Wise, and they go step by step by step. They cover every single element of their protocol, and each single element has to be cleared by our local union office before that project is cleared to move forward.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
There's a lot of eyes.
Yeah, we actually have to do that with our show. If we go SAG for our show, we have to show them. We actually have to show them like a map of where the actors are going to be per scene, and like how we're social distancing and what we're doing, et cetera. So, yep.
Yeah. And so I want everyone to know that's watching this, that our local union office is working tirelessly. And I would say the entire, the union as a whole is working tirelessly to work with the productions to make it work, to get these things going. I mean, they're working like they never have, and under great duress. And so, props to them.
That's the purpose of a union. I grew up in Philadelphia. My dad was a union leader. My mom was in the teachers union. Meg, I know you're from Michigan, so I know you, right? New York. That is the purpose. And I think this is when we're getting to see things, how modern day issues affect how we need to handle workers and workers' rights, workers' safety. We just passed Labor Day, and that is really important to acknowledge that, we have shorter, we're not working every single day because of unions. We have sick leave and things of that nature across the board. Anywho, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about emotions. Actors are emotional people. We're people generally. It seems like we're at once perfect for something like this happening because we're all used to things being last minute, and I feel like, oh well, welcome to my world. I don't know when the next check is coming. It's just that's the norm for us that the rest of the world has had to come to. So we kind of come to that. But the rest of us, we like to be around people. We hug and we want to do this. How have you been dealing with the distance? At first I was cool with it, and I was like, wow, I am way more of an introvert than I ever knew. But now I'm just like, this is my friends. How's it been? Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I'll jump in. It's been, for me, and I don't know, I actually, I'm a little sad to say this, but I wasn't mad at the whole thing of kind of being isolated a little bit for a while, because I've been away kind of working on back-to-back on projects, so I've been away from home for a long time. So this is like the longest I've been home for a while, so I got to spend time, and I'm just kind of enjoying the family, and just spending time with them. So, I mean, I'm kind of connecting with them who I've been a little bit distant from just because I was away at work so often. And then we're doing things like we're doing family Zooms and this type of thing where we're kind of—
Those are fun.
Yeah, we're like playing music and so I'm actually seeing more family than I've seen in years, So
right?
In that respect, it's really actually been pretty good. I guess sometimes it'd be nice to go have I had some friends come over, but we had to they came over and social distance at my house, So yeah, like you kind of automatically want to go give somebody a hug.
Right.
And,
like jazz hands.
Yeah, you got to refrain from that. So I guess it's weird with not touching, and actors are touchy-feely people.
Right.
Well, not so much in the Me Too time, but
Right.
growing up on when I in school in high school, I mean, we would be laying on each
Fully
other.
appropriate,
Yeah,
touchy
yeah.
feely, and
Appropriate is
authorized.
A
yeah,
disclaimer. There's a little disclaimer at the bottom.
Right, right.
but yeah, I mean, so for me, it's been weird, but it has some really good good aspects to it as well.
Mhm.
I was gonna jump in because I mentioned that I went through like the depression when our show didn't shoot. I think the first 3 weeks for me were just like, I think Eric, you mentioned this, that for the first time, since I've left college and got into this business, like I've just been hustling and hustling and hustling, and a little bit of FOMO, I guess, but just always feeling like you're not doing enough. And finally, like the whole world was just stopped for a minute. And it actually, I was doing no writing. I was not doing any, I actually thought I was going to get out of the industry. I was doing gardening. I was like baking. I think a lot of people were like going back to working.
Sourdough. Yeah.
Yeah. Working with their hands. Yes. But I think what happened was I sort of had this lull time to like zone into maybe a part of me that I hadn't really honored ever. And that's what I sort of zoned into. But when I was coming out of it, I got more invigorated by the work and my creativity, etc. I think maybe Eric mentioned this, maybe I took it this way, but actors think that they can't. As an actor, I'll just speak for myself. I moved to New York. I left Michigan and moved to New York. I left New York and went to LA. And then I left LA and came to Atlanta after I had kids. And these were my options. These were my options. I can't go anywhere else. These are kind of where I have to live. I remember I didn't want to cut or dye my hair because like that's what my headshot looked like, and I needed to look like this. And there's like this freedom, I think, coming forward that is, you actually can. And I had a friend just found out that she's moving to Idaho for the next or not Idaho, sorry, Iowa, or one of those states for
Middle America.
Next year. And
Middle America.
And I read this article that was calling it Zoom. People are taking Zoom vacations, and we're like, well, because we're finding out now that the whole world can basically operate from your devices and wherever you are. So we actually have a freedom to go to Sweden for a month and like audition from Sweden and write from I mean, like we could go in the mountains and still book work. And so I feel like that is a wonderful opportunity for us, as something that we've learned, and it's exciting, and work will go on, and we can feel as an actor free to explore. And
I used to back in the day before I became a regular actor, I've been acting my whole life, but once I could declare it on my taxes,
that's the milestone.
Right. I was like, what's your occupation? Actor. Yeah. My accountant threw shade. Girl, you ain't making no money. No, but I used to have a different hairstyle like every 2 weeks and be like, what am I going to apply today? And now this is the first time, with Walking Dead, it's like I had to, I couldn't have my hair get too long. It had to be natural. It had to be a certain color. I'm like, but I want it light. Nope, sorry, the job says it this, whatever. So I definitely get the freedom. Eric, you and your lovely, lovely wife are both in the industry. You're both actors. Your pool have been actors, pool of friends, and you have such an expressively adorable little daughter.
Thank you.
How have these conversations, how has it been as a working couple going through this and raising a young child? How has that been?
Well, I mean, I think there's the obvious challenges is that, our entire life was being supported by the industry. We're both actors. We run a taping service. So, there's obviously some pretty significant changes to our livelihood. And so we've just had to kind of, make some adjustments and accept the reality for what it is, and take advantage of any type of assistance that's available. There's lots of assistance out there. So we had to just be very strategic about making sure that we capitalize on the assistance that was out there. You can go to the SAG-AFTRA website and you can find out all the stuff, all the resources that are local as well as nationally. There are, the SAG Foundation has resources available to people. There's lots of stuff out there. I was fortunate that I did a show last year, which helped me as an actor, obviously. But at the same time, that uncertainty is there for everybody. And I think, I took advantage of the time and I dyed my beard gray. I've always wanted my beard to be gray.
Right. Yes.
And so I took that
Trying to do
opportunity.
look.
Yeah,
Nice.
I like it. I was tired of that youthful beard color.
Right.
So I'm trying to move into a different category.
Yeah.
And older,
That's good.
wise. Thank you. But I think as actors, well, I won't even say actors. I think everyone that works in this industry is an artist in some way, shape, or form. And I'd like to think as artists, we're fairly empathetic people by nature. And I think it's hard for artists not to feel the pain and the anxiety of what's going on in the world on a lot of different fronts, right? And so I think what artists do when they feel that type of pain or anxiety is they search within and they're like, well, how can I work on myself during this time? And I've really taken the opportunity to try to work on me as a person. I mean, I had a lot of opportunity for growth, in my opinion. And so I've taken this opportunity to work on myself. I think there are particular challenges for young children during this time. I mean, you
got two young ones there, Meg.
Yeah,
Miles and I are on the teenage years. What's up? They don't know about it now.
Well, how old is your daughter, Eric?
6. She's 6.
Okay. Yeah, I have a 5-year-old. So you're in the homeschooling bit right now.
Yeah, actually, we elected to pull our daughter out of the public school system, and we're actually literally homeschooling. We're not even doing virtual school.
We're at virtual school, public school right now. So it's been interesting.
And I think what this time has done for us is, as a family unit, we've really had to put a new focus on making decisions that were specifically right for us, right? Like we have to, pulling her out of the public school system. That was right for us, and it's not right for every family. But I think historically, maybe we might have felt pressure to do what others thought were correct in these situations.
Right,
and I think we've learned a new empowerment that during these circumstances, and even moving forward, that it's okay to make decisions that might not be in the general norms, but that are right for our family, because in this moment, we have to make decisions that work for us. And that's okay. And I think my daughter misses her friends terribly. And, it's hard on her. My wife is extroverted, and she loves people, and she loves hugging and talking and being close to people. So I think it's hard on her. And I think the most important thing we do is we just have to talk about it, right? We just have to discuss it. And we started moving into safe activities that we think are okay going. Arabia Mountain, for anybody, is an awesome.
Oh, it's so great.
It's an awesome place to go. It is this huge open rock where you can walk as far apart as you need to. It's beautiful.
Writing that down.
Yeah, it's really great.
What? It looks like the moon. You don't know about Arabia Mountain? Looks like the moon.
Can I tell you, we went to Pensacola for the first time a year ago. I've been here since 1988. I was like, are you kidding me? I would have been coming here all along. I know. We were ready to go. We were planning to go for spring break, and then, couldn't. Right? But, Eric, you brought up something. Congratulations on Stargirl.
Oh, thanks.
You're the Gambler, entering the DC fan base. Nice. Miles, you were from Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger, that's Marvel, right?
Yes.
Yep.
That's Marvel.
Nice.
I am Marvel and DC. Thank you very much. Boom.
All right. I guess I need to catch up.
But one of the big things that this has just affected financially for actors is the convention business. You know what I mean? It's like Miles and I, it was so awesome. 2 years ago, we were both at Comic-Con. And that was such a fun moment when we shot our video, and it's like, representing ATL out here. But that was a big part of a new wave of income for actors who, Walking Dead was just, we just got the news that Walking Dead is no more, that it'll be ending. How do you see like the future of conventions going forward? Are we ever going to be able to get back to that? And being able to meet fans and just these packed places. Is that something that's going to change, do we think?
I mean, I think I had a conversation recently with someone who's manages live events, and I think there's hope. I think you got to have hope that things will come back. I think a vaccine will make a huge difference in the way we move forward on the other side of a vaccine. I think right now I noticed that DC just recently did a virtual kind of, they did a fandom, which is kind of a virtual experience of kind of a Comic-Con. A lot of the, what I've noticed is there's a lot of podcasts out there that are really getting a lot of leverage right now with some like I was on a podcast
working on one myself now.
Good, but like I was on this like pop culture webinar or podcast the other day, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, I just talked to Robert Downey Jr. on it," and I was like, "Wow, that's really cool." Like these podcasts are getting like this. They're getting like this leverage where that's what's available.
They're at home. They're not doing nothing, but they need a break from homeschooling too. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that those conventions will come back. I think the convention industry is hopeful that they'll come back. It may look different, but a vaccine will kind of be a big milestone in the future of those events.
Yeah, I want to add, if I can, Karen. I think I don't know. I think we have a thing, just as human nature, we adjust and we adapt. And I was in I went to Myrtle Beach, first time I've ever been there, and the other day, and when we pulled up over there, I could not believe the amount of people that were there. So I was like, oh my goodness, we're gonna have to go back home. I didn't expect that. This is just this past weekend. So we decided, okay, well let's just see how it plays out. And we went in the hotel, and we can see we were out on the beach, and we can see the beach, but as people were spaced out. At least in the section they were spaced out. So we went on the beach, and at no time was anybody else within 10 feet of me, outside of my family. So I think as far as these live events, and I think we probably have to think differently and do it in bigger spaces and that type of thing, and people wearing masks and that type of thing. But I think that life will go on, and the show must go on. Yeah.
Ooh, nice one.
Life always finds a way.
No, always. That's good too. Let's just keep quoting movies. I like that.
Yeah.
You like that?
No, I like, sorry, the show will go on. That's old theater.
There's no business. Okay, anyway, giving you my best Ethel. So we talked a little bit about, I'm going to circle back to the self-taping thing. We used to have the advantage on it. Atlanta, all of us had to be ready. And at the beginning of this year, I was so happy because I had finally arranged my at-home studio, which now just has boxes in front of it, because this is what I needed in the background instead of a blank wall. We really that was like our thing, to be able to book off tape, and we still say tape, even though no one has used
I think we're
tape.
still the best at it.
But people are having time to catch up now. Where does this put us advantage-wise come January?
I don't know. I mean, they were going to catch up anyway. They should get it. And it's going to, again, I'll go back to my, if we want to live in, the mountains of Georgia or anywhere, if we want to live in Kansas, I feel like we can now, because casting directors, studios, people are trusting tape more, and that's exciting. I will say Zoom callbacks we have to get used to them still. I don't know if you guys have found this, but I found that more people were okay with you taping like in your kitchen. Like I had a couple auditions where I was like literally in my kitchen, whereas before it was like tape on a blank wall, don't have any props, etc. But there, I was almost like shooting a mini short film or something. Have you guys found that at all?
Well, I know whenever I would see when they submit, they go, oh, look at the stars from Game of Thrones auditions. Or whenever I see auditions, I'm like, they look like they're on vacation. Like, there was so much put in, had the audio and the lighting right and all this. And I mean, they're like in front of whatever. I'm seeing family pictures, so I think we were just held to a different standard because we weren't in LA. Like, I think LA actors, I don't know. I mean, is that just me being like Jan Brady over here or?
No, I mean, I think, go ahead, Miles.
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing with Karen. No, I think it was an Atlanta thing, and I think they just wanted to make sure we were showing in the best light and make sure the cast director's looking good and that type of thing. But I think like I take plenty of liberties. I tape where it's convenient at the time. Sometimes I tape in my trailer. You know what I'm saying? So and I think now I just think that the world is open and they're open to those kind of things. I think, the things that we were told in the past, you don't want to have a distracting background, that kind of thing. But I know when I'm doing my work, you're gonna be focused on my work, not my background. So
right.
And I think that's a huge point that Miles just said. I think the technological benefit of, I think part of having like the standard backdrop and things like that is just so that the casting directors could provide a uniformed looking package to production and stuff. But I think necessity is going to rule the day here, and not everybody's got a 6x6 mid dark to light gray wall and perfect lighting. And I think what Miles said that's so important is that maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but I think maybe one of the things that self-taping did to our market is it may have put the focus in the wrong place. And it may have put the focus on kind of like, do I have the best backdrop, lighting, sound, and camera? And I think what Miles says is critically important. And I don't hear many actors describe it like that. Like, that's a great way to describe it. It doesn't matter what my background is because you're going to be watching me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think
if my collar being up was what kept me from getting the job, then that means that wasn't my job.
Well, and to that point, I think that we still have an advantage because we've been doing it for so long that we know, at least we're used to being dynamic on tape, where some people, it's hard for them when they're not in the room. Like, they can be very dynamic in the room.
They book the room. Yeah.
Right. But when you're on tape, it's a different, you have to come through the tape. And I think that that's really, really something that we're used to doing now at this point.
Yeah, I would agree with Megan. And I think, hopefully this will help put a new focus on, living the moment the best you can. And, if you're looking at a clock on the back of my wall, well, then maybe I'm not doing my job in the audition piece. And maybe it'll be a good thing, right? But I think necessity is going to rule the day here. And it's hard to expect everyone to have those kind of perfect environment. Because I tell actors almost every day, I'm like, look, if this is your role to book, you're going to book it. It doesn't matter if you're taping in a barn outside in the middle of traffic. If it's yours to book because you're right for the role, it's going to happen. Like when I booked Stargirl, Gambler has a very distinct dialect and character kind of charisma about him. I did not audition with that at all because I didn't know enough about the character and I didn't even know what I was auditioning for. I did it as me within the context of the script I was given, and casting was the one that saw something in me that was going to work for this character that had yet to be developed or even discussed with the showrunner. And so, yeah, and I think that's an important note. There's nothing we can do to hide who we are. And so just bringing that to the front, that's what's going to book it.
I taught a class, which should be coming back soon, but creating characters. And that was what it was all about. It's like, it's not me becoming this role. It's, where's this role me? Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, this is me, but as this person. Like, if I
it's
was
what the
raised in this
character becomes
environment.
because you did it.
Right, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
so
It's good.
I want to circle back to training. I kind of brought it up, but training is so important, and we're such in an era now, especially. I mean, people always think that they could just act. You know what I mean? Everyone's just like, oh yeah, everyone says I'm cute, I should be an actor. Oh really? Oh. You know, but training, there's different levels of training. Okay, we're having people now moving into this market from New York, from LA, who have, you know, we've already had people here that have trained, you know, classically and everything, but we're having more and more people move into this market where their training is a little bit more craft driven, whereas a lot of our training here from, let's say, coming back to the 90s when it was a, you know, an I fly away market, so much of our work was corporate. You know what I mean? So much of the work we did was corporate. We didn't have to connect with the audiences. I just had to be able to read on teleprompter, or, you know, and I find we have a lot of kind of entry level classes and a lot of classes where maybe we're getting to intermediate level. What about people, where do you see people training that really are trying to get deep into acting? I feel like now I feel like an athlete that hasn't been able to train because most of my auditions are, you know, one page or something like that. Where are we supposed to train? The people who, this is our industry, this is what we're doing. Where are we supposed to be going now to keep our skills tight?
Well, I'm going to take your class. That's coming
That's what I was just gonna say.
Well, Meg, you helped me put together it, so you gotta know.
Yeah, go ahead. Miles, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, I know for me, you know, I think, you know, I read a lot, you know, I read the trades, and, you know, there was some things that I needed at one point, and there was somebody speaking in Backstage Magazine, the casting director, that was speaking directly to some of the things that I felt might have been missing or in my audition, in my work. So I went to work with that particular casting director. I just think people have to get what they need. And it could be online, and also, I mean, with people coming from New York, from California, from London, I don't give a damn what it, I don't know, is that a curse? That's not where I come from. I don't give a damn where they
That's
come
an okay
from.
curse, yeah.
That's clear.
Okay.
Toddlers
So,
say it now.
for me, it's about creating compelling characters, and, you know, if I can create a compelling character and be memorable, I think I have a great chance of booking that job. And then, you know, also, like, depending on what I'm doing, even Cloak and Dagger, you know, I would go grab a coach depending on what scene I was doing, and I work with the coach on that scene. You know, so it was ongoing. Even when I'm working, you know, it's ongoing. Working out and creating compelling characters. I'm doing my auditions. I'm working and looking at my own work and that type of thing. So you know, I don't think that actors in Atlanta should be only concerned about people where they're coming from, and they're coming from New York. I think they should focus on creating compelling characters, and I think I realize some of you guys might coach, so keep training. But for me, I know that getting training sometimes from different places have been helpful for me. You
Yes,
know,
I agree.
yes,
I'm doing
definitely.
emotional things.
People stay with one place for years and years.
In New York.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing, depending on what I'm doing, you know, I'll tap into that gift depending on where it is and what I'm doing at the time and what I need at the time.
Yeah, there's various acting classes here, and as Miles was saying, right now you can find everything online. Like, you could take, everybody is Zooming. I mean, my friend is taking a 3-hour scene study class on Zoom. That's insane to me, but it's happening. So depending on what level you are and what you need, I mean, you could probably be getting New York training here, like Zoom wise, in Atlanta, which is, I don't know how that's going to turn out for you, but at least you could try it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because everything is like, so many more people are available now. Because again, nobody's really working. Like, people are working. You know, Eric, did you want to chime in, or did you? I can't even remember now. I'm listening.
Well, I was saying that I only study with Karen Cesay's School of Acting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I only take a small group of apprentice.
Yeah, and it's fairly priced. I love it.
Well,
I think.
tried to keep it real for my people. I understand where modesty
Thank you.
income.
Thank you. I think Miles really hit it on the head. I think. Well, I think, for me, maybe this is getting too deep on this panel, but for me, like, being an actor and what keeps me motivated and kind of moving forward every day and working in a environment where, no is the answer 98% of the time, right? Is because for me, it's a journey to become my best self, right? And so, like, for me, in order to share something or be vulnerable on camera, I have to own it. And if that means I have to own being sensitive or vulnerable, then I've got to go find it within myself. And so that way I can share it on screen. And so if I'm always moving in that direction where I'm kind of growing as an individual and finding more things about me, digging deeper into myself, and the emotions that maybe I need to work on or I haven't yet accessed that will eventually make me the most comprehensive human being I was meant to be, I never feel like I'm going to reach that goal. So I'm always striving forward. So for me, when I start looking for classes, I try to pinpoint class that makes me fill a hole that I currently feel like I have. So like if I need to work on, like I started taking a class because it was focused on just being calm and relaxed, like a real high level of relaxation.
Where are you all looking? Like, where are you finding?
I was about to say that.
Like, what's this school?
I got you. I was like zoning in on your mental right there. I was going to say, if people are watching this and they're like, hey, where should we go for classes? So if you're starting out, commercial classes you can find online. I'm actually going to be doing a commercial class. But at one point I took a audition class with this guy out of New York. One of my best classes that I ever took, this was early on in my career, was out of New York. And it was like you're saying, Eric, it was like it was acting therapy, where it got me in touch with my emotional self. So now and we did zero scene study. We did zero acting. We did zero scene study, but it was the best acting class I've ever taken. I know that Catapult Acting has different variations of courses here.
What about like coaches? Who are some of the coaches that people are
Meisner,
using?
what's the, I'm blanking on his name. Rob Mello does,
Mm-hmm.
Yep, does Meisner, I think that's what he does. And, go ahead, guys, pop in.
Yeah, before the pandemic, I was taking class with Jason Warner Smith. I like his class a lot. Was
it one-on-one or was it like a group of actors?
It was a group. He teaches different groups. They're fairly small. I think they're 10 to 12. And during this current environment, they're more like 5 or 6 right now. And he's doing virtual. I believe, I don't think he's doing in person right now. He may be, but you'd have to check with him to be sure. I mean, Drama Inc. is a great resource for classes along many different levels. From beginner and beyond. Get Taped is doing some really cool workshops surrounding Sam Christensen's work, which is about kind of like authenticity and personal branding.
And who took over from them? Who took over for Sam Christensen? Is that the Get Taped people?
Matt and Brooke.
Okay.
Matt and Brooke here at Get Taped they're the keepers. They're the keepers of the product here.
And they also have their newsletter. I've really been enjoying the Scuttlebutt and just the information that comes through that. So I would suggest signing up for that too, because it's not just what's going on. There was one post that they made, and I like screenshotted it and reposted it about building your team. You know what I mean? And making sure you have certain people around you, the people that are the honest people, the people that are your cheerleaders, the person that, you know what I mean? This, because that's really important, especially now, is to have people. It's, we always, I need an agent, I need a photographer, I want a manager, if I can get in with the casting directors. It's like, no, you need somebody to be like, look, you need to, something's going off, you need to take a minute, or you're great, you're awesome, and the other person be like, you aren't as great as you think you are, right? And I think that's important to have different people in your life serve different functions. I do want to talk, I think, what do we have, about 20 minutes? Yeah, we've got about 20 minutes left still. I do want to talk about creating content, because not only is it something that's pretty much where things were moving already, is that, oh, you're just an actor. Like, you can't just be just an actor anymore if you really want to, you know, the term working has so many different meanings in the artistic industry that may or may not be money attached, but it's a need to really create work that you want to do, which is a lot of times actors always have to do what someone else sees you. I see you as this, or this, you know, I want you to work with this person. Well, I want to work with my friends. You know, Eric's hilarious. We used to do improv together. So that's kind of where it came from, creating content. And then streaming kind of came through, and it's just this massive need for content. Meg, you're creating content. We've talked about how it's shifting and changing. What are some of the, because you also run a women's group where it's a lot of women in the industry. What is going to talk about how creating content is moving forward, how this is adjusted for people, how it's affecting us?
Yeah, I mean, this is my mission basically in my whole life. I started creating content in New York because I couldn't get cast. And so I produced a play, which I didn't even know how to produce. I just started putting it together, and apparently that's what producing is. And then just moved from there, like kept making things. And I don't think you can escape. I don't think we're in a world now where you can't be a multi-hyphenate. That's just my personal opinion. There's TikTok, there's Instagram Reels, there's all these opportunities to be showing your creativity in different ways, whether that's writing, poetry, video, just anything. You are, no one person is just an actor. I just don't believe it. We're all artists, even if you're not in this industry. And I think that, like, you can't escape doing multiple things because you just have them inherently inside of you. I think, you know, my journey was that I then went back into production, and I was producing. So I worked in TV, I've produced films. Now I'm focusing on, I was working for other people at that point, and now I'm focusing on creating my stuff and selling it. I think it's something that we should all, like Miles was saying, he reads the trades and everything. If you're an actor that doesn't read the trades, then you're not a professional in your business. I'll just be blunt about that, because you need to be knowing what's shooting. You need to be knowing what's going on. And in that same realm, what you'll find out about some of these things is like what new stuff is coming up. Like, I just got a notice about all of the shows coming out that are all related to COVID. There's like 4 shows. They're coming out about COVID or around it, and they're like Zoom calls or whatever.
What, the Love in the Time of Coronas on Hulu?
Yes,
or whatever?
yes. All that.
I know
was
when everything first shut down, my son and I, was like an improv game. We were just going back and forth, coming up with titles 6 feet apart. You know what I mean?
But again, Karen, like, you should be putting those in a little snippet, and then we should be pitching them, because that's what's happening, is like, content is needed. I just sold a movie over quarantine, because guess what? They're going to be hungry for content because nothing has been shooting. So like, they bought our movie, they're distributing it. I just think that if you haven't thought about being a multi-hyphenate or starting to produce your own work, that it's time to think about it. And if you need any help, email me.
I probably will be emailing you, Megan. You know, it's what I want to say a couple of things, because I got a chance to work with Don Cheadle, you know, name drop a little bit, Don. Anyway, he said that you can't, don't be a hired gun. Don't be the guy that's waiting for somebody to hire you to work. That actor's waiting for somebody to hire you to work. And, you know, he said that years ago, you know, when I was coming up, and it was so true. And I look at people that come right out of this market here in Atlanta, like, you guys know Sarah Cooper. Mm-hmm. And Sarah, you know, she did this thing and doing the TikTok or whatever with the Trump thing. And she has a Netflix special now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's
But
doing
she was creating content for many, many years. And so they basically saw her on TikTok. They looked at her past stuff and said, "Oh, she's got more. What can we do with her? Like we've got," and she probably went to the table with like 5 ideas and said, "What do you guys think? Which one do you want to run with?" So.
Oh yeah. Sarah Cooper's the real deal. She's been, even when she was here, she was excellent, and she was doing comedy, stand-up stuff in New York and writing books. So yeah, she didn't just do the TikTok. She was ready, like you said. She had
She was ready.
Book.
Yep.
She had, you know, she was ready. So I think, you know, I think we have to create, and I'm writing right now, you know, thank God, and hopefully I'll get my stuff finished. I wanted to say something, though, that, you know, in line with Eric and Megan and you, Karen, were talking about, when you're talking about the training, there is, I think, I just wanted to add this, like when we do the self-tapes, I know, like I would self-tape at one time a lot with like Michael Cole, you know, a great actor locally, and he would see things that I just did not see. And that was almost like training for me. It was almost like a class. Because, you know, I go in and self-tape with him, and just because he thinks different and the things that he's doing would bring out different things in me. And I just thought that was a great way, you know, especially when you are self-taping a lot. It's like taking classes one-on-one.
Right.
So, you know, so I would say that is a way to also do that. And I work with guys like Greg Apps. He's a cast director in Australia, but online. You know, I work with Susan Batson, and a long time ago I would work with a guy locally, Greg Allen, who has a thing down here. So yeah, there's all kinds of great people like Eric, Whole World Theater. I was working with you guys over there and learned a whole lot. And I know, Karen, I can't wait to work with you.
I know. Okay, look, this is when we could do because we talked about real stuff. So, you know, actors always be like, no. I'm always thinking about, okay, I'm not going to bring that up online. But we had an awesome job one time. I think it was with Carrie Hood. And we were at the Brave Stadium or something. Weren't we there? We were working at the Brave Stadium.
Yeah, Mr. Safety. That was that.
That was. I don't even remember. I just remember we were at the Brave Stadium. Like, you know, it's really. I'm just having so much fun seeing people that you've been in the trenches with all along.
Rise up.
You know what I mean? It's really exciting. All of this, you know, I've been Cobra Kai, and it's like, oh, look out, there's Rose Bianco, there's, you know, Alex Collins, and so many people who, you know, before all we had were training videos, or, you know, it was like we were talking about your human resources package. That was our job, and every 3 years, you maybe could audition for a Lifetime movie. And even then, only 3 people locally would probably get cast. So it's been awesome to see all of these things. Where would you like to see? Yes, Meg.
Well, I just want to say one thing that Miles said about coaching, like with friends or fellow actors. If you can't afford coaching right now, I think that's a really good point, that grab a fellow actor that you trust and can get feedback from, and use them as a resource to give you ideas and coach you in an audition. I was just saying that if you are.
And I'll add to that too, because I do a lot of coachings with actors, and what I try to tell actors is, even if I'm coaching them, at the end of the day, it's their audition.
Right.
And I can give them my input and I can give them my point of view, but in no way do I don't want them to ever bail on their instincts over what I have to say. And so I think that's an important point to make, that coaching is really, really valuable. But at the end of the day, it's always the actor's audition, and they should listen to all the feedback and then evaluate for themselves. Like, as a coach, I'm never offended if an actor goes, I don't exactly see it that way. We'll discuss it. And then if they don't really feel that way, then we'll move on. We'll go with your instinct, because it's your audition, right?
Yeah. That is what I miss about the casting director process, is getting feedback real time. And that's, you know, that's difficult to gauge when especially if you've got a quick turnaround, to, you know, and everything is new now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everything is hidden. Everything is, it's a code word or untitled project, and it may be 6 episodes, or, and you don't know. And what
like Eric, you don't even know the character, like,
right.
or what it,
I never spoke as the character till episode 2.
Really? Oh.
That's when I spoke the character for the first time, and I did the take, and I was like, "Everybody happy? Okay,
right?
move on. Let's go."
good.
Wait a minute, and that's when you're like, the camera or something.
All right, moving on.
Right. Well, you were there for episode 3, right? So.
Yeah.
That's the thing with it's so funny with Walking Dead is you get the script and you be like,
Am I in here? Yeah.
Like that's the only thing you just go through just to see if you like everybody gets stabbed and and then you'd be on set and be like with the person that's gonna die, be like, hey, like their last day.
Oh.
Hey. Like Ted Huckabee. I was in the last scene where he died. And it was just so fun because it's at the last summer. We're all at lunch. Like I'm like, sorry, But
That's
now
funny.
we'll see who all survive.
No one's gonna survive.
I don't know. I mean, I was wondering how Walking Dead was going to continue because last time I was on set, it was like 100 extras. You know what I mean?
Ooh,
Just extras.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
It's like, they have like 4 people that handle guns. You know what I mean? So it's a trip. Okay, so let's go back to what are some of the things that you'd like to see. We know it's a COVID world right now. We know things are changing, but given where we were and how we can kind of come back on track, what were some of the things that you would like to see available to local talent? Anyone?
Okay, I'll jump in. I want to say, first of all, I want to encourage the local actors in Atlanta. You see, Megan and Eric and Karen's. You guys have a lot of success here, and you're working a lot of shows and projects, and which is amazing. And I know sometimes as an actor, it's like you feel like, man, I auditioned for that, or I could have been doing that. But one thing I've seen in the Atlanta market is like when somebody gets a break and they get on a DC show like Eric and they're working, that opens opportunities because like I know when I was doing Cloak and Dagger as a series regular, I was limited to the other things I could do. So I had to turn down a lot of stuff and not be able to do a lot of work. But that means other people were able to go do that work. So I want you to just hope that can be encouraging to you. So you celebrate those who get victories because that makes room for you to be able to, get those jobs
Exactly.
they can't do. And as far as you say with the market, what I love to see here, I know, this COVID has kind of helped me a little bit in that I don't have to be in New York all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I can stay here in Atlanta and and audition for LA and New York stuff on tape and still compete for Atlanta stuff. So in Atlanta, what I'd love to see is, more fully developed characters. And I think they're starting to come now, things that we can really be able to really get into and have a shot at really showing what we can do. Because I think there's a lot of talent in Atlanta. And I know it's local casting, so a lot of the things that cast here are the smaller roles and all that kind of stuff. But I just think that Atlanta actors, the Southeast actors in general have a lot more to offer. So I'd love to see those opportunities open up more. And I think they are, and the things that you guys are doing. So I'd love to see more of that. I'd like to see that continue. Not just being the husband or the guy that says he went that way. But, these fully developed characters. And I know that's what I look for in the roles that I play. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I would echo that. Sorry, Eric.
No, go for it.
I would echo that because, I mean, yeah, like I've been saying, if Miles, if your home is Atlanta and you feel like you can actually be at home and be booking all of those series regular roles and lead roles from here, then we don't have to feel, and we want to be in Atlanta. Like the people that want to build a community and stay here and love life here should be able to do that. And I've been saying this since I got to Atlanta, that I want this to be just the third major market where if it makes sense to shoot in New York, they shoot in New York. LA, but if it makes sense to shoot here, then we just become this major market where, for me, what you asked, what I want to see, I want to see IP coming out of the Southeast. And that has been sort of my mission from the beginning. That's intellectual property. That means you're writing, like our stories are being told. We're creating the stories like we have to offer, because that the view from down here is different than what LA and New York or what they're buying all the time. And so like the South has something to say, and it has an audience to watch it. And I think if we continue, this will just become our third major market in this industry. I'm excited for that. And I think that's what we'll do.
Yeah. Eric?
That's so important what Megan's saying. You know, I just want to throw this little nugget in here because I want to make sure Eric gets to say what he has to say. As working out of Atlanta, so many times, I remember I did Stranger Things, and it was a last minute booking on that role, and I went to do it. I think they called me, and I had to go shoot it the next day, and we were doing a scene, and the directors asked me, "Do you know your lines?" You know, and I laughed, but he was like seriously asked me if I know my lines, like, okay, and so I was doing Ballers, and I'm doing a scene. It's just me and The Rock, and the director's like, wow, you can really act. It's like, y'all think that folks in Atlanta,
right.
what is this? You know what I'm saying? It's like
we've been to LA and we know it's out there
twisted.
too. Like, it's not like everybody in LA that calls themselves an actor. I was out in LA one time. I used to go out for pilot season, and I remember it was a friend of mine. I'm not gonna name drop him, but he was from Atlanta, went to Clark and everything. Went out there, met up with him out in LA. He's like, I'm going to this actors meeting. You know, the actors group, they're supposed to be putting together a showcase or whatever. He was on a show at the time. So he was like on the show. It was a new show that was on NBC or something, I think. And we go to the thing, and they were going through their, what they were going to do for the showcase. They took like an hour talking about who's bringing the chairs and who's sending this out, and are we going to have snacks? Then came the monologues, and I was like, oh my God. And then they kept me like, you gonna join? I'm like, no, I'm good. I gotta go back to Atlanta. I'm not gonna be here. And I was just like, they were all horrible, every last one of them. I'm like, y'all need to slow your roll on this showcase and get it together before you start inviting people to this. Unless those are really good snacks and there's alcohol being served. So, but anyway. But Eric, what were you gonna say about that?
Yeah, I think, I want Georgia to be the most inviting, friendly place for people to bring the entertainment industry. And I want our all our institutions and our legislation to support an inviting, friendly place for the industry to come and work here. I would like to see, I think, Miles kind of hit on a little bit about kind of celebrating things in this market. And celebrating to me isn't necessarily like posting it on social media, right? Celebrating is like understanding the value of every single win in this industry. And I think Atlanta has had this this windfall of work that comes here. There's a lot of opportunity for actors. And I always say,
and it's accessible here.
And it's accessible
where it's shut off in LA and New York,
And I because I work with actors a lot, and I have people who come in to coach or come in after a booking, and they say, "Yeah, I'm doing this, but it's just this role.
Oh.
It's just this." And I'm not judging anyone for that. What I'm saying is, this is like I want there to be a real appreciation that when you book anything on a project, it is a monumental achievement that you're up on that screen or you're in that television because thousands of people wanted it and you got it. And I don't care if you say one line and that's it, or one word. It is something to celebrate for yourself. I'm not a big fan of like posting stuff on social media like that, but to have a real rich appreciation for the accomplishment at whatever level. I'd like to see more of that. And then I think along the lines of what we discussed, creating content here, like heavy content creation, because I think that will allow us to do exactly what we've discussed. It allows us to give local actors those well-rounded characters that are not only well-rounded but relevant, because we all live here, we know those people, and creating our own content.
Yeah.
Creating our own content allows the local community to start making these big decisions that when the work comes here, a lot of the big decisions are still made in other areas. Like they're made in LA or New York or Vancouver or London.
That's why we're doing a writer's room here.
And that's amazing, right? Because there's a ton of talented people. There is a whole, Karen, there's a whole community of improvisers who have been here for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Grinding out on stage, creating characters and storylines, and they're just creative and they're ready to go. And creating our own content will allow us to start making the decisions here and doing post-production here, and like completing the circle of the process and having it all encompassed here in Georgia as much as we can, so we can start making some of the bigger decisions at the bigger levels. And I think people like Black Hall Studios, Ryan Millsap over at Black Hall Studios, that's what he's really trying to do. Like, he's started Black Hall Studios here in Atlanta. It's one of the top production facilities, potentially in the country, definitely in the Southeast, and certainly in Georgia. And then he's going to go plant another studio in LA. He's going to go plant one in London. But the hub will always remain Atlanta. So his worldwide headquarters for Black Hole Studios will be here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I think that's awesome.
Well, you know, the Chick-fil-A guy, Chick-fil-A,
Dan Cathy,
they took over Pinewood, from Pinewood. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's under control of Atlanta people.
Yep.
But I'm like, I got to wrap. Okay, real quick. Because my alarm, the alarm went off, but my ringer was off. So I was like, oh, it stopped already. Meg, quickly. What were you going to say?
I was going to say something about how he said every booking was so important. I was a manager when I was in LA for a time. I was a manager at a top agency, and every audition is also a huge opportunity here, because you can't get when you think you're going to go out to LA and make it big or whatever it is harder than hard to actually start even getting auditions over there. So also honor the auditions that you get here. That's it.
Yeah. It's very important, and so thankful that we had this awesome panel. Wealth of people, Meg, Miles, Eric. You will see people around on TV, on your television, on your movie screens, on your computer screens. Really, what is one of the best things about working in the Atlanta market is the camaraderie. I would not trade it for the world. We definitely see each other as a family. We look out for each other, and every win, I love seeing everyone and everyone's name. So thank you so much for joining us for this 10th annual Creative Conference. Look, I'm getting the line. No, 10th anniversary of the Creative Conference in the 44th annual Atlanta Film Festival. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Karen Cisse. We've got Eric Goins, Miles Mussenden, right? Look, I'm always like, and Meg Messmer, Mussenden.
And Miss Karen Cisse.
Thank you,
Thank
Karen.
you
so much. Enjoy the festival. I can't find my record.
We need the crew member to come out.
Right. It's because this will be the fun part.
You can just end it. You can just end it.
No, I can't get my mouse down. I told you I have like.
I guess we'll have to, does this mean we have to do it all over again?
Yes.
Yeah. There we go.
Retake.
All right.
So, it's not stopping.
Check the gate.
Miles is over it. He's eating.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
Like, I'm done.
Mom's so ready to go.
I can't even
I'm
find
so
my
hungry.
I can't even find the mouse
You
now.
have no idea how hungry I was this whole time.
Now your mouse is missing.
My mouse is
Where'd
missing. Look.
My computer's gone.
Wait a minute. Everyone's gonna
Wait Where
my
am I?
computer
I'm not even at
screen,
home anymore.
it just froze. Like
You're
I
frozen
can't-
on our side too.
Should we just leave?
Get out of my
Yeah.
house. Who are you?
Right. But I'm like, it's not even moving. My mouse is totally stuck.
Yeah.
This is the
Emma.
best part.
Emma, where did you go? No.
Off.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hit end.
Me too. I'm gonna
Yeah.
Hopefully
jump
it
out
helps
too.
you.
I love
Bye,
you
guys.
guys. You guys were great. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Be well. Be safe. See you, buddy.
I don't
All
Good to
right.
see you, Miles.
I look at your number, man.
Yeah. You're on Facebook, right? We're friends on Facebook,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And I'll probably have it anyway if it's the same one from way back.
I've never changed my phone number.
Yes, I have it. All right.
All right, give me a ring.
Yeah, man.
See you, bud.
Bye.
Oh my God. Hello?